Hello, it's me, Earl Class Productions. Some of y'all are probably gonna take a while to get to the new name, but this is a special video because I'm actually going to be talking about the Earl class, or let's say Duke Dogs. The Great Western Railway 3200 class, or Earl class, was a design of 4-row steam locomotive for passenger train work. The nickname for this class, almost universally used at the time these engines were in service, was Duke Dog, since the locomotives were composed of former Duke class boilers and on Bulldog class frames. As such, they were one of the last standard gauge steam locomotive classes to retain outside frames. The GWR absorbed the Cambrian Railway in 1923, but with the Cambrian Main Line being likely built, permanent way restrictions debarred the use of heavier locomotives. This meant that only a few classes of GWR locomotives were allowed to run over it, including the Duke class. However, by the 1930s, the Duke class engines were past their estimated life, and in particular, the frames were in poor condition, I guess. At the same time, the heavier Bulldog class was becoming redundant and being withdrawn and later members of this class had an improved straight-topped frame design. Construction of the Duke Dogs started in December 1929. Duke number 3265 through pole and pen was withdrawn, and the cab and the other above frame fittings, together with a spare Duke boiler and smoke box, were fitted to the straight-topped frames of Bulldog number 3365 Charles Gray Mott. The rebuilt locomotive was given the name and number of the Duke. This resulted in an engine with stronger frames which could still be used on yellow weight-restricted routes. The conversion was a success, and from 1936, 29 new locomotives were constructed from the irrelevant components of withdrawn Dukes and Bulldogs. The classification of the rebuilds as new locomotives had advantages in the railway accounts, and they were given numbers in the 32XX series 3200 to 3228. A further 11 conversions were scheduled, but the onset of World War II brought a halt to the program. The naming of the Earl classes. The prototype conversion retained its Duke number and name, 3265, through pole and pen. The first nominally new locomotive was numbered 3201, and originally kept the name of the parent Duke. A decision was then taken to name the class after living earls who had some connection with the GWR. Apparently, as a riposte to repeated requests from aristocratic GWR directors for engines to be named after them, the CME of Great Western, Charles Collett, decided that these new engines, with their decidedly old-fashioned Victorian appearances, should be given the names of those directors. When the directors assembled at Paddington Station for the unveiling of the new class, the group were not impressed at Collett's joke. So although the first batch of 20 2020 were allocated Earl names, following the construction and naming of number 3212, Earl of Eldon, in May 1937. The nameplates were removed and the names given to NOS 5043 to 5062 of the Express Castle class instead. In the 1940, alright, hold on, let me just clear my voice. So, for the renumbering of the engines, in the 1946, renumbering all the surviving locomotives in the 32XX series, both Dukes and Duke Dogs were numbered, and the 90XX series retaining the same last two digits. This was to free the 32XX numbers for the new 2251 class engines. Now for the operations. Mainly allocated to the Cambrian Main Line, it remains one of the few classes of locomotive that British Rail inherited that were light enough to be permitted on the wooden Barmouth Bridge. Others were the GWR 2251 class and the Elmas Ivat class 260. As a result, they remained in regular use until the 1950s. Preservation. One locomotive, 9017 Earl of Berkeley, survives in preservation at the Bluebell Railway. The locomotive was built at Swindon Works in 1938, using frames from the Bulldog number 3425, built in 1906, and boiler and cab from the Duke class number 3282, originally named Chepstow Castle, built in 1895. Originally numbered 3217, it was renumbered post-World War II as 9017, mainly deployed on the Cambrian Line. The locomotive was withdrawn from services at Oswestry in October 1960. Preserved privately directly from British Rails, with the Bluebell Line as the only preserved standard gauge line in the whole of the UK. It arrived there the 15th of February 1962. From September 1963, it carried the nameplates from the GWR Castle class, number 5060. It carried its post-World War II 9017 plates until the withdrawal of GWR 060 number 3217, when it was reunited with its original number plates in early 1965 after a period of traffic. From December 1973, its overhaul began in 1980, returning to traffic in 1982. After its last overhaul completed in November 2003, its private owner donated it to the Bluebell Railway on condition that it remained mainly in service on the line. After a series of boiler and mechanical failures in June 2011, it is currently awaiting an overhaul and is in storage at Horsted Keynes Carriage and Wagon Workshop. I hope you liked that quick history about the Duke Dogs, or, the Earl class. I will be, talking about other engine classes a lot on this channel. And the next engine I will be doing is the Class 28. See you next time. Wait. Why didn't I end the recording? Oh well. See you next time.